Yes, indeed, the Jim and Terry Show. Still at it. Still going to town or going to the village or going somewhere. Maybe we're not even going. Maybe we're sliding away. The driveway's still an ice rink. Speaking of ice, the Spengler Cup did not work out so well for our Spengler Cup fellows. And you know whose name? I love looking at the Spengler Cup roster because it brings back so many names of glory days of the past, future, what happens to the future of fellows that we knew on hockey teams in the NHL. And I thought of the goalie, James Reimer, who used to be for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there is still a place and a space for aging NHLers. And the Spengler Cup, it's still one of those ones where you put a collection of ragtag former NHLers, some of whom may be still actively playing in European leagues somewhere, but they don't play as a team. And they're brought together ad hoc on the spur of the moment. They try to build the team in a day or so and find their legs and find team cohesion. And sometimes it works, where spirit and determination, raw grit, can take you to the top. And sometimes it doesn't. And I think their loss was 5-1 in their quarter final game, so they didn't even make it to the semis. No medal round for the Canadians this time around. However, there was joy. It's always about joy for me. Joy in the beholding, joy in the watching, joy in the celebrating. So all of that stuff is good. I don't know where I was going with that. I didn't have to slide down my driveway to check my mail. I don't know if anybody's recovered yet from that ice freeze mix that we just had. But there's a lot of need for salt and sand. The roads seem okay at this point in time. Anyway, Jim, thinking of you safely ensconced in your own basement, hoping the renovations are continuing to go well, and that you and your family have enjoyed not only a great Christmas time of family renewing and spirit, but that you're looking forward to greater things in 2026. Just because the new year rolls over and it just seems like a one-day thing. Sure, it rolls from 2025 to 2026. Calendars get reset, clocks get reset, all that stuff. It seems like one day just follows the other, and it's a continuum. I like to think that there's some kind of significance to the year changing, the clock, the Julian calendar. You ever wonder about all this random stuff that's happened? When did people decide to look up and say, hey, it looks like a new year? Well, it looks like the new year is divided into, about 30 days more or less, and we'll call those things months. Do you ever wonder how all of that stuff, I get curious about, what did people know in ancient societies? What did they know about life, about biology, about science, about everything? And how did it develop? How did knowledge develop? And of course, we got the enigmas of Stonehenge, Tepe Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. We have the pyramids. We have the Sphinx. All these things that are still getting us to ponder. Space aliens did it. Laser beams, anti-gravitational force fields. Ancient civilizations, Atlanteans knew much more than we give credit for. Well, this much I think is true, and that's that. People have been all gathering together in societies a lot longer than we thought. We figured the agricultural revolution is the kind of thing that drew people together in clusters. And from an agrarian economy came trading, came specialization, came advancements in society. Well, that was about 10,000 years ago. So, I think what we're learning now is that, especially Göbekli Tepe, is putting dates on these monolithic structures, these gathering places at 20,000 years. And I know people are going to say, the creationists, especially in my circle, will say, it's how you date it. What dating system? Well, the same dating system that you wish to use to find Noah's Ark is the same dating system that's pegging all these things at these ages. You can't pick and choose the science that you wish to use to defend your ideological position or your faith-based system. Science is science. It is neutral unless it's used as a weapon. But even economics can be used as a weapon. Look at Trump and tariffs. tariffs as a cudgel, beating Canada and the world into submission. Yeah, anything can be used as a cudgel, used to beat people down and to extol your own value system. But as a science, things are usually more, prove it to me. And that's where I would like to go today in some of the stuff. Prove it to me. Okay, how about this one? Prove to me that Trump is not a Russian plant, a Russian asset, a Russian mole, a Russian agent Krasnov, or whatever you want to call him. Prove to me that he's not. And I think you would have difficulty proving in any convincing fashion that he's not. Whereas you have a ton of evidence that suggests he is. Take this one from my social media feed. This is an excerpt from a BBC presentation. I know some of the my listeners on the right side of things will say BBC, communist broadcasting, like the CBC. Yeah, okay, well, maybe they are center left, but they're pretty well established reporting. So here we go. Breaking news, quote, America no longer sees our country, that is Russia, as a threat. U.S. leaders' philosophy is closer to the values of Russia's president, not the politicians of the old world. He sees Europe as a stronghold that must be destroyed. ... Yeah. BBC, again, that's on my social media feed. So when Trump is saying the same things as Putin, we have a problem. When the GOP is repeating talking points from TASS or RT, we have a problem. And the problem is that Russia is using, what do they call it, kind of warfare where you are not directly in confronting people with weapons and shells and stuff, but you are doing the back door stuff where you are in behind, you are manipulating media, you are manipulating headlines, you are planting seeds of thoughts and talking points. And then when you see U.S. congressmen and senators repeating those same talking points and you can see them published in RT or TASS, you are really just supplying evidence that you are indeed the problem. So I'm just reading through some of my social media feed, and it's kind of interesting to see what's what. I love going through, I'm part of Bluesky. I gave up on X when Elon Musk took it over and it went to the dark side, when a lot of conservative, what do they call them? These people who have a lot of hate, anger, rage, and rail against everybody else who doesn't agree with them. Maybe Bluesky is the opposite, where they hate and rage against everybody who doesn't agree with liberal democracies. I'm not sure that I see hate on Bluesky, but I do see hate, fear, and anger on X, and so that's why I abandoned that ship years ago. I enjoy seeing artists. So in my Discover and the feed that gives you opportunities to meet new people, I don't meet anybody. I mean, it's not a meet and greet thing for me, but it is an awareness. And I enjoy being aware of what people are doing artistically. And so watercolors here, there are a lot of pet stuff going on Bluesky. Everybody takes a photo of their dog, their cat, their rabbit, their bunny, here's one underwater video camera looking at pike and what? Anyway. Here's a shout out to my good friend Greg, who also tried to do underwater photography, fish photography, and I think that's something maybe he could get back to. How useful is underwater video as fisheries assessment tools for freshwater systems? That's a good question. Here's an article from someone I follow, George Conway, who was the husband of Kellyanne Conway, who rose to prominence as a token on the arm of Donald Trump in his first White House, Trump 1.0. She was the one who famously argued against facts, saying, well, we have our alternate facts. And ever since then, I've followed his career. George Conway ended up separating and divorcing, I think, but I followed him anywhere in social media. So here's his posting based on the Rolling Stone. Quote, more Kennedy Center performers pull out after Trump's name change. Wow. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, only it's now renamed the Donald J. Trump and Kennedy Center. Really? Renaming, rebranding, you know what happens to what things Trump touches? They all die. Jim and Terry Show, signing off. Bye-bye.